Hello everybody, this is Donnie with Dota Alchemy coming at you with another video today, and today's video is going to be a replay review that was requested on our Facebook page. We are looking at a Wind Ranger game. This is in the Guardian MMR bracket, so it's fairly low MMR, but I think it's going to be a good learning experience because there's a lot of stuff to talk about, especially regarding itemization, and we've got a lot of questions about itemization recently, so I think that this is a good game to look at just for that. So let's just get into this and we will take a look at a few different scenarios and why kills and having a large amount of damage is not necessarily game winning in the game of Dota 2. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to look at is the starting items here. We actually have a little bit of a funky draft. We've got a safe lane Wind Ranger, and the Wind Ranger is starting off with a Blades of Attack, a set of Tangos, and an Enchanted Mango. And I think that this is okay, maybe. I understand the reasoning behind it. Obviously, Wind Ranger usually goes for phase boots, and having some extra damage to help with last hitting is nice. Wind Ranger's not really a hero that is going to buy anything that would have a null talisman in it, and so the Blades of Attack makes some sense because of that. However, I also think that facing up against a bristleback, it's pretty obvious the bristleback is going to be in the bottom lane. It's going to be a weird bottom lane. It's going to be a Ember Spirit bristleback off lane facing a Wind Ranger and Elder Titan. So a little bit strange, but that being said, I still think that probably having a little bit of extra regen is usually preferable, and so I would like to see maybe a salve, maybe an extra mango, perhaps even just the components for a magic wand, because you obviously are going to want one of these against the bristleback anyway, and it does give you some stats. That being said, it will be pretty hard to last hit without the Blades of Attack, so maybe this is fine. Getting a magic wand is mandatory in this lane, especially based on how much mana you're using on this hero. Just to spoil it, there is no wand or stick that's picked up ever, and I think that is a huge mistake. And so I've already watched this game. I watched through to take some notes, and one of the things that I really wanted to point out is that spend some time in a demo lobby working on last hits, because even with the Blades of Attack having 59 base damage, you seem to be struggling quite a bit with last hits in this game, and obviously that is a huge part of playing carry and just playing the game in general. Your item timings are significantly slower because you're missing last hits consistently in the laning stage, and it also forces you to use your power shot a lot to get last hits, which means that you end up not having enough mana to do a lot of other things later on in the game. So right here, I just wanted to point this out because this is another thing that I noticed throughout the course of this game, is we just witnessed you using your wind run to escape a scenario that you could have just walked away normally. I'm also not seeing you ever use your phase boots. You haven't used your phase boots once since picking them up actively, and yes, they do give you good damage, so they're a good item just for that, but you could have simply just walked away for free with extra movement speed instead of spending 50 mana to get extra movement speed and walk away at the same time. And this just kind of comes back to that point that I wanted to make, is mana conservation is really important, because mana allows you to do things. Having the ability to actually take fights or do extra damage or finish off kills or disable people. If you're spending your mana, especially for something that you could accomplish without spending any mana, then it seems like a very inefficient way to use your skills, and thus it's just one of those things that you will have to improve if you want to actually, get significantly better at the game. So we're going to skip ahead quite a bit here, and we see that the Wind Ranger is now 10-0-3, having a really good game as far as kills, and has a Phase Boots and an Aghanim Scepter and a Maelstrom. And I actually want to talk about this real quick, just because Wind Ranger is kind of a weird hero, because she's like a damage dealing intelligence hero. As a result, a lot of the items that you build on her don't actually give you any stats, and when you were in the laning stage, there was a period of time, I think around like 15 minutes or so, where you had like 900 health and a Maelstrom and Phase Boots, and basically having 900 health 10, 15, 20 minutes into the game is really dangerous just because you have a lot of damage, but you don't have a lot of survivability. And so it made me think what I probably would have done in this case is I would have bought, the phase boots. I would have gotten a wand, obviously, as I recommended, which gives you a little bit more stats. And I think I probably would have just bought an ogre axe as my next item just to get that extra boost of health, because the 10 strength would be really valuable on a hero like Wind Ranger. And then from there, you could decide whether you wanted to go into an Aghanim straight away if your game was going well, which it looks like it did, or you could have gone into a Dragonlance and then turn that into a Hurricane Pike, which is also a very good item in this game. And in that way, you could have gotten the stats that would help you be more survivable, have more HP, but then also have the flexibility to either go into the Aghanim Scepter if you feel like it's a good enough game where you can rush that, or go into the Dragonlance if you feel like it's kind of a game where you need to fight right away. And then again, I think that Hurricane Pike is a pretty good item in this game and would have probably recommended to go into a Hurricane Pike at some point in this game in general. And as we can see here, you're now going for a Lincoln Sphere, and I really don't like this item choice at all. There are two skills basically that you're trying to dodge with this. There's the Reaper's Scythe and then the Sand King's Stun. And I mean, obviously the Necro ult is dangerous to you, but I also think that if you just go BKB instead, then you also are avoiding things like Ember Spirit's damage, Monkey King's Stun, which the Lincoln Sphere does not block, and it also doesn't just sink a whole bunch of gold and resources into something that can be popped by Bristleback every second. So I think that a Lincoln Sphere in this game is not very good. I would much rather you go for a BKB. And so at this point in the game, I think that I would prefer to see you having an Aghanims, Phase Boots, Maelstrom, and perhaps even like a Blink Dagger, just because your team doesn't really have any initiation. And again, because your last hits aren't, super up to par, you're kind of struggling to get net worth in the first place with 103 last hits at 25 minutes into the game. So yes, you have 11 kills. That's awesome. You're using your skills well to fight people, but you could have more net worth and you could be using that net worth more efficiently to get more value. Now you're 18-0-5. Again, kills are going very, very well, but you have 4 dead and you still have a wave on your side of the map. The mid lane is about at the river. The lane that you're in right now is still about at the river because there's a creep wave back here. So I want to see you either immediately go bottom or go mid and start pushing the waves. I don't want you to be farming jungle camps on their side of the map. This doesn't make any sense to me. It's pretty dangerous as heroes are respawning. As you can see, Ember Spirit could have caught you there. And again, this is just at this MMR, efficiency is not something that is either prioritized or really understood. And so I'm trying to point out these little efficiencies that will ultimately make you a better player very quickly if you just start practicing. So now you are pushing out this wave. I would have liked to see this done, 30, 40 seconds earlier, and you would continue to pressure the map in that way and be able to perhaps even take this tower instead of just kind of farming one wave and then going to the jungle and sitting there. Now your item build here, looks like you're going for a Mjolnir next. And again, I don't like this item choice. This doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, you get maybe a little bit more magic damage from it, but the active of the static shield doesn't really do anything for you. There are no heroes really that are going to be right-clicking you. You have built-in evasion in the first place. So if Monkey King does start right-clicking you, you probably are just going to press Wind Run and run away. You're not supposed to be in the middle of the fight tanking anything. If anything, you would put it on the Timber Saw as he runs in. But still, the other team just doesn't really have a whole lot of people that are actively hitting things. Ember Spirit's using mostly magic damage. Monkey King is the only one who really is right-clicking stuff. And so I don't think that Mjolnir warrants being bought here. You already have max attack speed from Focus Fire on a very short cooldown. So the Hyperstone does absolutely nothing for you at all. I think that you really, really need initiation. That 2,000 gold you spent on Hyperstone could be a Blink Dagger to help you catch Ember Spirit. Could go towards buying a Sheep Stick, which I think would be extremely good this game, and also gives you a bunch of damage because you're an IT hero. So I don't think that this item is the correct item for this game. I don't even think that Mjolnir should really ever be bought on Wind Ranger, just because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless you're facing something like a Phantom Lancer or a Terrorblade. So you TP in, kill the Ember Spirit, and then just kind of stand here and man up against this guy. Again, you could be using your phase boots to run away, not taking a bunch of hits from him. If you had a BKB, you would not have gotten stunned there. So again, BKB over Lincoln Sphere, way better this game. And that death right there, right, you feed an 18 kill streak and 1100 gold to their Monkey King. You're no longer alive. He's still alive with Shadowblade, ends up killing your sniper. So now he's gotten 1600 gold in the last 15 seconds. And ultimately, it looks like he's going to get even more as your team continues to try and fight with your two main heroes dead. Monkey King gets another kill, so he's now gotten 2,000 gold in the last 30 seconds. There's a massive, massive swing. We can actually go back and look how much gold has just changed. Looks like, you know, about a 5,000 gold swing is happening right now. And that's really all off the back of you just kind of being inefficient with your movement. When you're fighting on a hero that's squishy, especially if you don't have a BKB or any sort of survivability item, again, Hurricane Pike would have been a good choice here, BKB, good choice here. But if you don't have any of those survivability items, you need to be repositioning yourself. You have phase boots, you can move quickly away from him. You can attack him and then run farther away, and attack him and run farther away, and avoid that death. And you can see that just that death right there actually ended up snowballing massively. And I would almost go as far as to say as that death was the game-losing point of the game. So I know that you're 18-0-6 at that point before the death happened, and you're probably like, how could we ever lose this game? I have so many kills, I'm doing so much damage, there's no way that we should ever lose this game. I don't know if you're blaming your team or not, but that death was on you, and as a result, those other deaths are also on you, in my opinion. And so yeah, you get another kill, you return, get a bunch of gold back that you lost, but you've also boosted this Monkey King pretty significantly. It was something that was totally avoidable, so I would just say it's completely unacceptable. And this is the last thing that we're going to cover here. We see that you're level 25, and your items are Aghanims, Mjolnir, Orchid, Lincoln Sphere, Phase Boots. Again, the farm is a little bit low, but there should never really be a level 25 carry who is 23-1-6 that needs to run away from any hero in the game, in my opinion. Even a 4,000 HP Bristleback. I think at this point, you could even consider having a Silver Edge in your inventory. Nobody has bought a Silver Edge, it looks like, so you have nothing to deal with this Bristleback. So this just comes back to kind of solving the issues at hand. You don't have survivability because you have a Lincoln Sphere instead of a BKB. You don't have extra mobility because you don't have a Blink Dagger or a Hurricane Pike. You don't have any way to deal with this Bristleback because you don't have a Silver Edge on your team. Wind Ranger's not a traditional carry for a reason. You rely very heavily on your focus fire and being able to land shackle shots to do your damage. But that's not really the issue. The issue is the itemization here and the lack of focus on pushing the waves. You can see that 40 minutes into the game, you have an Aghanim Scepter, you have wave push, but you've done almost no damage to their tier 3s because that clearly has not been your priority. 23 kills, no tier 3s taken. I think that's the main reason that you lost this game. And despite being 28, 4, and 11 as this game ends, having, you know, high damage items, you don't really have any other utility other than just shooting people a lot. If I can reiterate one last thing, it's that if you are going to buy these active items, you also need to use them. The Bloodthorn was basically never used in this game. Your Phase Boots are still not being used. You're using Windrun to move faster instead. The Mjolnir was literally never used, the active on it. And so if you're going to buy active items, use them. Think about the itemization that you actually need to deal with the heroes, as opposed to just being like, how do I do the most damage and get the most kills in a game? So I hope this video helps. I know it might be a little bit harsh, but I think these are things that are very easily fixable if you just kind of pay a little bit more attention to them. So I hope that I brought them to your attention so that you can start working on just figuring out some very important concepts to becoming a better Dota player. Thank you so much for providing this replay. I really appreciate it. And I hope that this replay review helps you win some MMR. All right, thanks guys.